Hello, James. Why are you home early? I was expecting you back on Sunday. It's my house, and I don't need to justify when I come and go. There's no need to get upset for no reason. I asked about your early return because you mentioned being away for the weekend. Anyway, I don't want to waste time arguing. Can you get dinner for me? James, I didn't cook dinner because I had some leftover food from the morning. I spent the day taking care of things around the house. Oh, I knew it. You spend the day lazily watching TV when I'm away. That's disappointing. Why are you saying such things? Give me 25 minutes and I'll cook something for you. I provided a comfortable life for you, and you're ungrateful. Greetings, my name is Emily. I'm 39 years old and have been married to James for the last 8 years. I was raised by my single mother and started working after high school to ease the burden on her. Initially, I worked as a cashier in a local supermarket, saving most of my earnings. I worked hard, extended shifts, and sometimes worked 2 shifts during peak sales seasons. With some finance classes from a friend, I started managing the supermarket's accounts and inventory. The owner was impressed, and I eventually became the manager, overseeing staff as well. One day, a customer lost his wallet and blamed my staff. I intervened, explaining that it was everyone's responsibility to take care of their belongings. Despite the commotion, I handled the situation calmly and assured the customer I would help him find his wallet. I nodded as he continued passionately describing the loss of his wallet. Swiftly, I messaged the security department to retrieve the CCTV footage from the specific aisle of the last 17 minutes. Simultaneously, I requested them to contact the local police patrol for assistance. Interrupting his tirade, I assured him, I understand your concerns, sir. We've already captured the footage and identified the suspect's face. The police will be here shortly and will share the details. True to my words, the police arrived promptly. The security guard briefed them, and the police identified the person on the footage as a local thief. Gathering the necessary details, they left. The following day, while I was engrossed in my routine at the supermarket, the same individual appeared. Hey, I didn't get a chance to thank you yesterday, he said. Curious, I inquired about the wallet, and he informed me that the police had apprehended the thief in another lane. Expressing gratitude for my quick response, he revealed that the thief was caught and the wallet was recovered. Blushing at his appreciation, I modestly responded, I was just doing my job. I'm glad I could help. Apologizing for his outburst the previous day, he explained being new in the area and the panic caused by the lost wallet containing his ID and credit cards. Understanding his situation, I reassured him. He then asked for my name, Emily. Intrigued, he introduced himself as James, residing 3 buildings away, and requested to share a coffee to express his gratitude. Our story unfolded from there. James had recently moved into the neighborhood, and our accidental encounter at the supermarket led to a coffee date. Initially hesitant, I eventually agreed, appreciating his grateful nature. Our connection deepened over time, and after a few months of dating, when my rental agreement expired, James suggested I move in with him. The days that followed were the best of my life, and before we knew it, we fell in love. James, employed at an IT company, maintained a hectic schedule, yet our weekends were dedicated to lively parties and enjoying life to the fullest. Our relationship spanned 3 years. One day, during a routine conversation with my mom, she shared something heartfelt. Emily, after your dad passed away, I devoted my life to raising you. It brings me immense joy to see you as an independent woman. Concerned, I asked her why she was talking this way. She confessed, Honey, I'm getting old and I worry that if I die, you'll be left alone without anyone to support you. It's time for you to think about getting married. I want to see you as a bride before I pass away. Uncomfortable with the topic, I dismissed her words. However, the unease lingered. When James noticed my tension, he inquired about it. Hey, what's up? Why do you look so down? Reluctantly, I shared my conversation with Mom. Concerned, James suggested, I've been thinking about the same thing. Let's get married. Are you sure about this? Without hesitation, I affirmed, yes, absolutely. Overwhelmed with happiness and excitement, I jumped on my bed. Subsequently, we met each other's parents and conveyed our wedding plans. My mom, emotional at the prospect, asked James to take good care of me, expressing her vulnerability as she had no one else in the world. James's parents, too, were warm and welcoming. After tying the knot, James expressed reservations about having children, preferring a carefree life together. Despite his reluctance, I insisted on starting a family. Eventually, he relented. 6 years into our marriage, our daughter Megan was born, completing our family. I faced challenges juggling work and taking care of our baby, prompting James to suggest that I temporarily step away from my job to focus on our daughter Megan. James reassured me that his income could sustain our family's decent lifestyle. Despite James's initial lack of domestic skills and his attributing the mess to a busy schedule, I took charge of household chores, with sporadic assistance from him during his free time. During my pregnancy, James went out of his way to support me, expressing gratitude for my dedication to both him and the house. However, after I left my job, his involvement in household responsibilities dwindled. Even simple requests, like getting groceries, were met with reluctance, citing fatigue. While I initially dismissed it, his once polite demeanor transformed into a more abrupt tone, accusing me of becoming lazy. I initially thought his change in attitude stemmed from my previous time constraints, as our adventurous lifestyle before Megan's arrival had drastically shifted. Turning down social plans fueled James's discontent, leading to complaints about our altered lives. Despite his love for us, it became evident that James cherished his freedom, expressing frustration at the limitations imposed by parenthood. I suggested he resume his social activities, encouraging him to pursue his interests. However, the tension persisted, as James seemed torn between his love for our family and his desire for the carefree life we had before. I assumed responsibility for Megan, initially encountering reluctance from James. However, as he started going out without me, a noticeable shift occurred in his attitude. He began returning home late from work, spending weekends partying with colleagues and friends. Despite my efforts to please him with meticulously prepared meals and maintaining the house, James displayed a lack of appreciation. Even minor cooking mishaps led to his outbursts, and he started criticizing every aspect of our home life, from cleaning to laundry. I questioned whether my shortcomings in household chores were to blame, acknowledging James's hard work for our comfort. Regardless of my efforts, his discontent persisted, manifesting in constant complaints. The recurring phrases included remarks about the house being a mess, poorly ironed clothes, distasteful food, and a perceived decline in my competence. Contemplating divorce crossed my mind, but the fear of living alone, compounded by the recent loss of my mother, deterred me. With no one to confide in, I felt isolated. Years passed, and James's behavior showed no signs of improvement. Loneliness intensified as I gradually lost love and respect for him. Despite the desire to leave, concern for Megan's well-being and the fear of poverty held me back. Uncertain about providing her with a decent life on my own, I remained trapped in a deteriorating relationship. I yearned for Megan to mature so that I could escape this predicament. Until then, I had no choice but to endure James's irrationality. One day, when James exceeded all bounds, he was away on a weekend trip with friends. I didn't prepare dinner, relying on leftover lunch, but he unexpectedly returned early. "Hey James, how come you're home early? I thought you'd be back on Sunday," I inquired. He grew furious, retorting, "This is my house. I can come and go anytime I want. I don't need to justify it to you." This had become his typical tone with me. When I questioned his early return, he snapped, "Why are you unnecessarily getting angry? I said I'd be away for the weekend. Just shut up. I don't want to waste my time talking to you. Get dinner for me." I explained that I hadn't cooked dinner due to leftover food, but he accused me of laziness, saying, "I knew you spent the day sluggishly watching TV and doing nothing when I'm away." Attempting to defuse the situation, I promised to cook in 23 minutes, but he insulted me further, calling me a clumsy woman. When I defended myself, he accused me of turning the house into a filthy place. He complained about Megan's toys cluttering the house, despite it being natural with kids around. In the kitchen, he scolded me for a single dirty plate, unaware that I intended to clean it after dinner. When I questioned his disproportionate reaction, he went on to berate the state of the fridge, throwing its contents on the floor. In a fit of rage, he tossed the leftover food into the sink. Unable to contain my anger, I pleaded for him to stop. I reminded him that the house was filthy when I moved in, and I had transformed it into a home, managing household chores while working even before marriage. He interrupted, refusing to acknowledge my efforts. "I provided you with a comfortable life, and yet you remain ungrateful. You used to dwell in that small rundown apartment, but out of pity, I offered you shelter in my luxurious home. Despite working with intelligent women, I chose to marry someone with low qualifications like you, a mere cashier. I took you to places beyond your imagination considering your modest income. Enough of your complaints. Show some gratitude and serve me dutifully as a homemaker." Feeling humiliated, tears welled up in my eyes and I broke down. In my vulnerability, I managed to express my confusion to James, stating that I thought he did everything out of love, not as a favor. Dismissing my feelings, James accused me of using emotions to trap him, claiming that I had ensnared him. He left the house in a storm, leaving me to spend a night in despair. reminiscing about the once happy days with James and missing my mom terribly. The following day, James returned, demanding I sign divorce papers as soon as I opened the door. Emotionally drained, I agreed without further conversation, surprising him with my calm acceptance. Annoyed, he exclaimed that it was good I agreed, or he would have made my life miserable. Feeling trapped in this marriage, I packed my bags, handed him an envelope, and informed him that I would send the signed divorce papers with my terms included. In response, he belittled me, calling me a parasite who had lived off his money for years and declaring that I would not get a penny from him. Confidently, I mentioned taking the matter to court and left him puzzled when he opened the envelope, revealing copies of all the pieces of evidence against him. I received information from the investigative agency after hiring them to uncover the truth behind James's changing attitude. The agency provided me with details about James's infidelity, presenting evidence that shattered me that morning before his return home. The photo evidence revealed his unfaithfulness, spending weekends with different women. Despite James's rude behavior, I initially considered giving him another chance. However, unable to bear his infidelity, I ultimately chose to accept the divorce immediately. When James reviewed the evidence, he nonchalantly claimed he wasn't serious with any of those women, just having fun. His words left me baffled and unable to control my anger. I confronted him, expressing my disappointment that despite being considerate about his late-night parties and vacations without me, he still cheated. I blamed him for becoming distant after the baby and not participating in activities together. I sacrificed social events for our daughter's sake, expecting him to realize his responsibilities as a father. In response, I took our daughter Megan into my arms and left the house. Checking into a hotel for a few days, I contacted my ex-boss, who owned the supermarket where I used to work. Sharing my situation with him, he was shocked and offered me a job in inventory management. Knowing the people there, I easily resumed my work. My boss provided temporary accommodation in an apartment recently vacated by previous tenants. During this time, I hired a lawyer and sent divorce terms to James, demanding child support and substantial alimony due to his infidelity. Despite James's attempts to negotiate and calls for reconciliation, I remained steadfast in seeking compensation for the damage and trauma I had endured. James didn't confine himself to a single affair. Rather, he engaged in multiple relationships with various women, including both colleagues and random acquaintances from parties or trips. His involvement with the wrong crowd led him to occasional drug use, perhaps contributing to his heightened anger and frustration, which he directed at me. Distressed by his actions, I reached out to James's parents and divulged the unsettling details. They were devastated to learn about his reprehensible behavior. To expose James's actions, I also sent his parents some incriminating photos that captured intimate moments with his colleagues in the office. My lawyer informed me that James was facing difficulties at work, with colleagues aware of his affairs. His manager even threatened expulsion if he persisted in such behavior. Those colleagues with whom he had affairs had left the office in shame, tarnishing their reputations. Despite the consequences, James continued working to meet his financial obligations, including alimony and child support. Several months later, I received an apologetic email from James, acknowledging the impact of his actions on our relationship. He expressed gratitude for the care I provided, realizing the significance of my contributions to maintaining a functional and welcoming home. Despite the emotional resonance of his message, I resisted the urge to reconcile. The nostalgia he experienced stemmed from the comfort and care I provided, overshadowing the reality of his mistreatment. In our time together, he treated me as if I were expendable, eroding my self-confidence with his ego and attitude. I opted not to return to a life where my daughter witnessed me being treated as a doormat. Choosing to prioritize our well-being, I secured an apartment with my savings and alimony, enabling us to lead a decent life. I am committed to providing my daughter with a nurturing environment that emphasizes the value of self-worth. Through my income and child support, I am determined to offer her a solid foundation for growth, aspiring to see her evolve into a confident and independent woman.